Heavy floods and strong winds leaves hundreds of families in Bomo village, that is in Bomo subdivision, southwest region, stranded. The floods triggered by heavy rains destroyed several properties. The population say measures are not taken by the government. Not just properties will be destroyed, as they could also record human casualties. And away from that, a journalist at the national station CRTV fumes after frequent blackouts interrupts his 8:30 news. The situation pushed the journalist to apologize in an angry tone over what he qualifies as repeated and destructive blackouts. Find out more in this edition of the news. And out of Cameroon, Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu orders the lifting of all sanctions imposed on neighboring Nigeria. This comes after the West African Regional Bloc agreed on lifting the sanctions imposed on the West African nation following a coup d'etat. Those are major stories. Stay with us for details and more. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast. Cameroonian officials have declared a humanitarian emergency after several houses were destroyed in Bomo subdivision, southwest region. The Bomo Village Development Association are now seeking the intervention of the government of Cameroon to save Bomo from extinction. We have details with Fomi Armstrong Sanda.
Emergency was declared after encroaching waters from the Atlantic Ocean destroyed hundreds of buildings and plantations in the village of Bomo. Waves from the ocean pound walls and houses constructed on the shores of this predominantly fishing village of Bomo, located in the Bomo subdivision of the Indian division of the southwest region of Cameroon.
Secondary school to people's living houses everywhere, right to the churches. All churches are now getting to the water is going to this to wipe everywhere.
Based on what happened yesterday and this morning, Bomo has no hope and no future. And the people of Bomo, we don't have anywhere to go. Bomo used to be one of the biggest fishing settlements in West Africa. But today we cannot hit our chest anymore.
School buildings and premises, schoolyards and buildings, the palace and the local hospital were all rendered inhabitable for humans by the heavy waters.
We have nowhere to go. The water now has washed the whole land, from the school, primary school, to the secondary school.
The people called on the government of Cameroon to save Bomo from extinction.
We are appealing to the government that they should help us, because if things are not done immediately and urgently, in the nearest hours we will not see Bomo again.
Bomo is a well-known predominantly fishing hub, hosting foreign Nigerians, Beninois, and native Cameroonians.
Fomi Armstrong Sanda reporting there. We stay in the southwest region as the people of Nandong in Western Bosi say they want a subdivision carved out of them from the present-day Tombel subdivision for effective development, highlighting that they are being neglected by the Tombel Council in terms of development initiatives. The people complained of extremely bad roads, poor access to healthcare and other services. They were speaking during a development come together in Nandong. Details with Fomi Armstrong Sanda once more.
With an estimated population of over 4,000 inhabitants, Nandong, one of the 13 villages in Western Bosi, Tombel subdivision of the Kupe Maninguba division in the southwest region, is in dire need of basic social amenities.
The difficulties are much. Road first. We have a number of elites. Let them come home. And developers, when they're coming home, let them come with their children so that we shall know them. Because you can meet your sister outside or your sister, brother. They can they can involve themselves in love making because we don't know ourselves.
From lack of good roads, electricity, potable drinking water, basic social structures, the people of Nandong say they go through hell accessing health care.
This health center harbors 13 villages. If you work for personal interest, who will be the beneficiary? I have people like Menge, Mesaka, Nyale, Mauzum that you use water crossing. She's never there. There is no drop there. Polio is the only thing that's beneficial here. Out of polio, there is nothing that can be given. Now, if you go to the health center presently, she's sick and she doesn't have an aide. There's no other assistant nurse that's helping her do one or two things. Now,
feeling neglected by the Tombe Council in terms of meaningful developmental initiatives, the people of Nandong say they want an administrative headquarters in Western Bosi.
Sincerely, we are really far from our administrative headquarters. Because somebody living in Nandong, you pass through 2 subdivisions before you go to your administrative headquarters. For example, you pass through Konye, then you go to Kumbatri before going to Tombe. So, in fact, we are requesting for administrative headquarters so the administration should be nearer us. That one will solve us a very, very big problem.
These problems and concerns were raised at a general come-together aimed at laying a foundation stone for the construction of a Nandong multipurpose community hall. The development reunion was attended by all sons and daughters of Nandong.
And we now talk insecurity. The far north region of Cameroon since 2013 has been affected by the Boko Haram conflict, which has led to the death of civil persons and displaced millions of people. Cameroonian forces have struggled to fight an armed group to no avail. In an effort to assist them, the German ambassador Dr. Corina Fricke was in the far north region for a 3-day working visit. We have details in this report done by Malaglory.
Cameroonian forces since 2013 have been fighting to prevent Boko Haram terrorist activities from growing powerfully in the far north region, but with limited efforts. In a way to assist the security forces in their fight, the German ambassador Dr. Corina Fricke was in Mayo Moscote, one of the areas known to have recorded most of the Boko Haram terrorist attacks.
And we are here to get a first-hand impression about our stabilization program. Stabilization, what does it mean? We have humanitarian aid, we have our development cooperation, but there is a gap between. And especially in regions which had crisis, which had difficulties to overcome, it's important to give quick access to normal life. Also,
the German ambassador and her delegation provided some equipment to the gendarme offices and equally extended a hand of support to the agricultural sector. This to increase production by fighting food shortage that came as a result of the crisis in the region.
Tractor for agriculture and other things we have seen today. A marketplace with boutiques are very important to stabilize and to normalize the life of the population, because we are convinced most of the people, the overwhelming majority, only wants to may have a peaceful.
It was in the presence of the governor of the far north region, Mijiawa Bakari, and the local population who graced the event with traditional dances.
Insecurity, the ongoing Anglophone crisis remains a major challenge, hindering the execution of public investment projects in 2 English-speaking regions of Cameroon. In the Fako division of the Southwest region, work to construct a banquet hall for the Muyuka Council is said to have been halted following attacks by workers at the site. The divisional delegate for Minipart, while on the evaluation meeting, says they are hoping that work will resume anytime soonest. Davison Maimo reports.
Fako Divisional Delegate for Minipart, Pascaline Eko Oben, has said that security challenges caused by the ongoing Anglophone crisis are not leaving out heavy rains as some of the obstacles that have hampered the full execution of some projects in the division.
The banquet hall of the Moyoka Council works have been suspended because the contractor was attacked, the workers were attacked, so works have been suspended. But we are also hopeful that in the days ahead, works will resume on site.
On her part, the Divisional Public Investment Follow-up Committee Chair, Honorable Etombi Gladys Ekome, says some recommendations have been made on how to complete the project.
Of course, nothing goes without challenges, and many recommendations have been made for the challenges that are faced.
The Member of Parliament frowned at what she described as the nonchalant attitude of some mayors who are constantly absent from the meeting, which affect the smooth functioning of the committee.
We have talked about it over and over that the presence of the mayors is paramount. And today we have seen that all the mayors are present.
However, the divisional delegate for Minipart congratulated those project owners and contractors who have pushed the division to have a 91% realization rate.
Hopeful that by the end of this month, the works will be concluded.
Nonetheless, the representative of the state in Fako division, Vyang Mekala, warned project owners and contractors who are still lagging behind to hasten up, for the state is watching and expect a 100% execution rate in the division.
Southwest correspondent Davison Maimo reporting there. The 8:30 newscast on the CRTV was yesterday interrupted by frequent power cuts. The situation pushed the presenter to apologize in an angry tone to his audience. Social critics think it is time for those who praise the government to also experience or have a pinch of what the common man experiences on a daily basis. Annabella tells us more.
Toutes nos excuses pour cette interruption du journal.
The presenter of the 8:30 p.m. primetime news on the national station apologizes to his audience following an abrupt interruption of his presentation caused by a sudden blackout.
Peut pas faire de la banque en mettant de...
For over 45 seconds, Romot Nchiswengok was off air in the middle of the news. He had promised his audience in all confidence to deliver the news in its entirety.
Restez sur la CRTV pour regarder le 20h30 et je vous dis tout. Tout de suite.
But that wasn't materialized. Seemingly furious, the presenter puts the blame on the NEO, the electricity distribution company, and accuses the intermittent power cut of destroying machines at the CRTV.
Des coupures successives et intempestives d'électricité qui endommagent donc des machines ici à la CRTV.
His anger is one out of the many complaints from Cameroonians on a daily basis on the adverse effect the epileptic power supply has on the socio-economic activities in the country. Social media platforms and other critics like Wilfred Ekanga epitomizes the situation. Wilfred says blackouts obstructing the news on the CRTV is humiliating, yet it's time those who idolize the regime in power and the government to also feel the pinch of what the common man goes through on a daily basis.
And many Cameroonians are hoping that the problem of blackouts will soon become a thing of the past. And Cameroonians in the diaspora accuse the government and more particular Elections Cameroon of hindering the country's peace through the undemocratic practices. Among other flaws in the electoral process, they point to the fact that almost 3 months into 2024, registration for potential voters has not started in the diaspora. Babila Jonathan talked to some of them and compiled the following report for the 6 p.m. news.
On a bien l'impression que les 5 millions de Camerounais qui vivent dans la diaspora ne sont pas du tout considérés dans le système électoral au Cameroun.
Cameroonians in the diaspora feel excluded from the electoral process of their country.
Many Cameroonians living abroad are facing a lot of difficulties to register for the upcoming presidential election. And if you do not register, you cannot vote.
The delay is seen as a strategy to deprive them of their voting right.
On the 13th of July 2011, President Paul Biya promulgated a law granting voting right to all Cameroonians living abroad to participate for presidential election and referendum, that is general election. But since then, that right remains on pieces of paper.
With regards to the delayed registration in the diaspora and other flaws,
ce n'est pas un processus démocratique.
Cameroonian University Don in New York, Dr. Aziz Nchari, describes the electoral process in his home country as undemocratic.
There are two kinds of Cameroon. One beautiful and democratic Cameroon on a pieces of papers, and one terrible Cameroon in reality.
And to Cyprus-based Cameroonian political analyst Lapana Tashamama, such undemocratic practices hinder peace.
sustainable peace in Cameroon can only come through free, fair, and transparent election.
They are urging Elections Cameroon to take up its responsibilities and right the wrongs.
Of course, Babila Jonathan, righting the wrongs. And now we talk health. Renal failure remains a major health problem in Cameroon with a mortality rate of over 31.7%. Nephrologists say the number keeps increasing due to the ignorance of most patients who most of the times visit the hospital only when their condition is already chronic. The medics were speaking on the occasion of World Kidney Day today at the General Hospital. Asa Luciliengo, our health reporter, tells us more.
Nephrologists in Cameroon revealed that 11 to 14% of adults in the country are suffering from chronic renal disease.
The main causes in our setting are chronic infection, viral infections such as HIV, hepatitis B, C, and other, parasitic infection, and also bacterial infection, and diabetes. We have genetic factor who can predispose patients to chronic kidney disease and old age.
At the General Hospital of Douala, in a week, about 600 patients go through the dialysis session, and for a patient to be dialyzed, Chief Nursing Officer Ngombanjie explains the procedures.
And here principally we do hemodialysis, that's we use the blood of the patient to eliminate waste product of metabolism. The second, third and fourth is equilibrium, that's we equilibrate the fluid balance of the patient, we equilibrate the electrolyte balance as well as the pH of the patient. So we aspirate the blood, and then the blood goes through the artificial kidney, and then in the artificial kidney the blood has to circulate in opposite direction to the dialysis to create a concentration gradient.
Ça nous aide quand on devient léger après la dialyse et tout ça.
On the occasion of the World Kidney Day, 14th of March, nephrologists advise patients on how they can live with the disease.
Psychologist is part of the care of our patient. Also the nutritionist, because chronic kidney disease, patient has to follow a certain diet because their kidney is no longer capable to remove all the waste.
With the launching of the universal health coverage, the dialysis session now costs 15,000 francs.
If a patient pays today, it therefore means he has to pay again 15,000 francs on the 14th of March 2025. So it's worth noting that the dialysis session has drastically reduced.
In order to save lives, medics call on the population to visit the hospital early for medical checkups, mostly to carry out the kidney function test before the disease gets worse.
And out of our national frontiers, 8 months after the military coup in Niger, the president of neighboring Nigeria, Bola Tinubu, lifts all economic sanctions imposed on the French-speaking country. He therefore ordered the immediate opening of Nigeria's borders with his neighbor, as well as a resumption of commercial flights and a supply of electricity to Niger. A roundup of our foreign page with our reporter, Cedric Chakutu.
Nigeria has announced the lifting of sanctions against Niger, reopening its borders with the Sahelian nation. The decision, revealed early on Wednesday, March 13, 2024, comes after calls for the border reopening from Kano's government earlier this week. Again, the Nigerian presidency detailed the lifting of economic sanctions, allowing for the resumption of land and air travel between the two countries. This move is expected to revive cross-border trade, particularly in agricultural products and livestock. Nigeria's decision follows a recent extraordinary summit of ECOWAS heads of state in Abuja. While Benin promptly reopened its borders after the summit, Niger has yet to formally respond to the announcement. Elsewhere in Senegal, the Senegalese President Macky Sall asked his government to apply immediately after it is promulgated a recent amnesty law likely to benefit one of the main candidates in the presidential election of March 24. No official information has been provided as to when it will be released. Since the adoption of this law last week, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, anti-system presidential candidate, and his leader Ousmane Sonko, also detained, has been presented as the main potential beneficiaries. Uncertainty remains whether they will fall within the scope of the law, but unconfirmed reports abound that a release could strongly influence the dynamic of the campaign.
And now to our sports page. Despite the suspension of playoffs by the Chambers of Arbitration and Conciliation of the National Olympics and Sports Committee, football clubs based in Douala say they will go ahead with preparations. Union Sportive and Astra of Douala say they are determined to perform better in the playoffs. Majikan Gabriel watched the training session of these two Douala-based clubs and put together the following report for the 6 p.m. news.
Union Sportive of Douala is one of the clubs here in Douala that is sure to be involved in the play down of the Elite One Championship to determine their state, if they are going to remain in the Elite One or they are going to go to the Elite Two Championship. Union Sportive of Douala are waiting for information from the Arbitration and Reconciliation of the National Olympic and Sports Committee, where there is a case pending, and should the result be positive, then Union Sportive of Douala will be part of the teams that will be playing in the playoffs up of the Elite One Championship. Union Sportive of Douala is just among several other clubs that are waiting for the final decision, and of course the training session here is to prepare them ahead of the playoffs of the Elite One Championship, expected to kick off in Douala this weekend. After the poor outing against Dynamo, we have started a moral and psychological preparation. We've missed the first chance, but we can't miss out on the second opportunity. The training session was closely followed by supporters of Union Sportive of Douala at the Camrai training pitch. Asked why they kept training after the Chambers of Arbitration and Reconciliation of the National Olympics and Sports Committee had asked for the suspension of the playoffs until litigation brought before them are finalized, the coach of Union Sportive of Douala told us, up till now, those who sent us the program of the playoffs haven't sent a contrary information as to the first we had. We are aware of the call for the postponement, but we are hoping to get the final word from Pekafoot. It's important that we remain concentrated rather than be surprised. If Union Sportive of Douala is hoping to take part in the playoffs up or down, pending on the outcome of the CCA decision, Asks of Douala is doomed to fight for survival in the playoffs down. Only Gazelle FC of Marwa is already in Douala for the playoffs, announced to begin this weekend.
And it should be noted that a recent release made public by the Cameroon Football Federation, FECAFOOT, states that the MTN Elite One playoffs initially scheduled to take place on the 15th of March 2024 has been postponed to the 22nd of March 2024. And that's what will put an end to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your keen attention. Stay in the company of more interesting programs on ETV. Have a wonderful evening.